So what happens when it's not just the person on trial, but the trial itself? Today, we're going to dig into the incredibly complex and controversial case of Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria. It's a case that really makes you question the very definition of justice. This entire story really boils down to one huge, fundamental question. Think about it. Should a government be allowed to break its own laws in order to enforce them? That single question is right at the heart of this massive legal drama unfolding in Nigeria, and believe me, it has huge international implications. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, you've got to understand this is, well, it's not your typical court case. Not at all. The main fight isn't even about the guy on trial. It's about whether the court has any right to be holding a trial to begin with. Seriously, just picture it. You're in a courtroom, but nobody's arguing about guilty or not guilty. Instead, the defense lawyer stands up and basically says, "Judge, with all due respect, you have no power here. This court has no right to even hear this case." That's literally what's happening. It's an extraordinary situation. So who is this guy at the center of this whole firestorm? And what exactly is he accused of doing? All right, so the man we're talking about is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He's the leader of a group called the Indigenous People of Biafra, or IPOB for short. Right now, he's being held by Nigeria's security service, the DSS, and he's facing some pretty serious terrorism charges from the Nigerian government. But here's where it gets really complicated. This whole case, all of it, doesn't really hang on those charges. It all comes down to one single critical event: how he ended up back in Nigeria in the first place. So back in June of 2021, Kanu was, let's say, forcibly brought from Kenya to Nigeria. And that one moment, it just kicked off a massive chain reaction. A year goes by, and a UN group steps in calling for his unconditional release. Fast forward a bit more, and his American lawyer, Bruce Fein, is demanding the whole case just be thrown out. All because of how it started. Okay, so there's a key term here you need to know: extraordinary rendition. Now, this is not your standard extradition, where countries follow treaties and legal procedures. No, this is different. It's when someone is basically grabbed in one country and moved to another, completely off the books, with zero legal process. And Kanu's team is saying, yep, that's exactly what happened here. And his defense team is basically calling this rendition the government's original sin. Think of it like this: it's the one illegal act that taints everything that follows. His lawyer, Bruce Fein, puts it really bluntly. He says a government can't be allowed to profit from its own crimes. The logic is pretty straightforward, right? If you had to break the law to catch somebody, how can you then turn around and use your own legal system against them? It just doesn't add up. And, this isn't some new idea. It goes way back. Fein is actually pulling from a U.S. Supreme Court case from all the way back in 1928. Justice Brandeis made this powerful point: when the government itself becomes a lawbreaker, it basically teaches everyone else that the law is a joke. It invites chaos. This all leads to a really famous legal idea, and it's got a great name: the fruit of the poisonous tree. The metaphor is perfect. If the tree, the way you captured someone, is poisoned because it was illegal, then any fruit that comes from it, like the trial itself, is also poisoned. You can't use it. So the defense lays out their argument in a few clear steps. It goes like this. Step 1. They say the government committed what are called just cogence crimes. We're talking things like kidnapping and torture, which are illegal everywhere, no exceptions. Step 2. Because they did that, they violated fundamental international law. Step 3. Those crimes mean the Nigerian court actually loses its authority, its jurisdiction, to even hear the case. Which leads to the final step, Step 4. The case has to be thrown out, period. And this isn't just them talking. They've got backup. They point directly to a UN report from July 2022, specifically paragraph 107. That paragraph flat out told the Nigerian government to give Kanu an immediate unconditional release. Why? Because the UN group found his detention was arbitrary. So, as you can probably guess, all of this has thrown a massive wrench in the works. The whole trial has grown to a halt. It's a total standoff in the courtroom. So you've got these two sides just completely dug in. On one side, the defense is saying this court has no power and Kanu is refusing to even take part. On the other side, the prosecution is saying, look, we don't care how he got here. He's here now and he needs to stand trial for terrorism. It's a classic impasse. Nobody's budging. And if you thought that was complicated, there's another layer to this. Kanu's local lawyer in Nigeria points out that the government has also ignored other court orders from its own courts that called for Kanu's release. He's arguing that there's a pattern here, and it just completely undermines the government's claim to be acting on any kind of legal or moral high ground. So you see, this whole thing has ballooned into something much bigger than just one guy. It's become this huge clash between two big ideas: the desire to see justice done for the charges versus the need to protect the integrity of the law itself. And the stakes just keep getting higher. I mean, incredibly high. Bruce Fine actually sent a letter directly to the judge hearing the case, Justice Omotosho. And in that letter, he laid out a pretty chilling warning. He basically said, "Judge, if you go ahead with this trial, you could personally be seen as part of the crime." He even brought up the possibility of the judge facing the International Criminal Court. Now that's turning the tables. So in the end, this isn't really a case about Nnamdi Kanu anymore. It's become a test of the entire legal system. It really makes you ask that fundamental question: does the government have to play by the rules, even when it's going after someone they say didn't? And that leaves us with this one final thought to chew on. If the way you start the process, the way you get someone into that courtroom, is totally broken, totally illegal, can you ever get a just result at the end? Doesn't matter if it's a conviction or an acquittal. Can it ever really be justice? It's a tough question, and it's what this case forces all of us to consider.